So in the linguistic dimensional reasoning model, the idea to go further is to never settle. Like if you play a game, the moment you think, okay, one end boss is the final boss, let's say you actually have an infinite game, right? But you think, through whatever reason, through a belief system or to start believing what you have been told, you settle with the idea, okay, one end boss or one location, it is the end. It is the end of the game, right? So you settle, right? So you, in the dating world, not settling means hypergamy. That's what men are complaining women are doing. But actually it is in terms of playing a game architecture, it is actually quite smart. Not always, only if because they are operating in a limited game world, yes, because you don't have unlimited billionaires, handsome and smart, humor, and intelligent. There are no infinite number of these things. Maybe in parallel worlds, but most women cannot travel between parallel realities, so or create their own parallel realities. So in that sense, being hypergamous in terms of a limited space, limited resources is not very smart, right? So settling is the smarter option. However, when we're talking about infinite reality, there's not really a need to settle. There's not really a need to settle with, okay, liberation or I achieved my peace. You can, if you want that. You can settle if you want. If that's your goal, then it's better to settle on a consciousness development framework. However, if you are by nature curious, right, infinitely curious, because you see one horizon, you go to that horizon, and then you go to the next horizon. Of course, this movement is somewhat temporal, it's somewhat linear in time. But eventually, when moving higher up the dimensional stack, you start folding time itself. Things become non-linear, events become non-linear, and hyper-time self-referential. For example, like some thing you do or your name might be referential with an event in your life, which might be referential with a movie plot that someone else made. So events, definitions, namings, vocabulary becomes hyper-referential through time and space. Maybe even hyper-relational, so it depends upon one another, right? Reality becomes sort of like a Doctor Strange quantum verse, the quantum realm kind of style. But that's the thing, once you settle on a belief system, it doesn't mean that any belief system is invalid. Not necessarily, but it's like everything is part of a puzzle, right? Everything is kind of part of a greater thing. Like, you can come up with a lot of analogies. But basically, settling in terms of consciousness development, it's of course possible, but there is a natural curiosity. So I think it's kind of natural to progress cognitively. Now, mind you, in terms of the linguistic dimensional reasoning model, that form of dimensionality is linguistic and cognitive, right? So it has a relation, of course it has a relation to other factors such as the mathematics, the spiritual factor, the physicalized factor, emotional factor, but the development is mostly on the cognitive level, or the reasoning is mostly cognitive, linguistic. So not necessarily pure spiritual. As you might have spiritual inclination to begin with, you might start, it might bleed into each other a bit, yes? Which also happened to me, because I like to believe, or according to my experiences, that I am spiritually inclined through experience and interest, desire. So yes, and it's also not a thing, because things loop back, right? So the black and white, it switches oppositions, like from dispose to compose, right? Being close to one another. Like that also, when you traverse, you'll find when you traverse the linguistic dimensional reasoning model, I came to like funny situations where I went to the dimensionality of being retarded, right? And it turned out in that dimensionality, being retarded is in some ways better than being not retarded. So this flipping of definitions and value attributions tends to also flip flop. So the whole thing in a dualistic thing is not just that definitions flip flop, but superimposed the assigned value also flip flop depending. So the value system, the definition system, the emotional system tends to like Mandelbrot itself onto itself. So it becomes like a really flippy floppy reality. It's cool, but I do think like you have people that end up in the crazy place, lunatic asylum, and maybe sometimes they say, "Oh, it's a game, or something," or it's and usually what happens, I think unconsciously everybody is running the dimensional model, maybe not linguistically, but through consciousness. And I think many people can get stuck at certain places. Like a lot of places people get stuck is what I call the momentum realm. It's not very high on the stack, by the way. It's like where you get stuck in the moment, right? And we all do to a degree. It's at various aspects of life. When I ran through the model, and which was very fast, I also got stuck at one point at the momentum realm, where I saw a momentum demon, like a black entity with red eyes. Often this is also described in sleep paralysis. I later Googled that they face these entities. And these entities, they make you stuck in the body, right? Like you cannot move the body, so it's like the same thing. Well, I use the keywords, because linguistically you can use the keywords, the cheat code, right? That I said, I am continuum. So you continue. So when you continue, in any game, you have the option to play or to continue, right? It's a kind of IO 1-0 level. So that's the kind of the first simulation level, you can say, right? The IO, or the pause, continue, and then you have, of course, on a higher order, you have start or stop, right? It's a higher order of the simulation of playing, or and then you have terms such as UI, user interface, and to travel the user interface you need Ultra Instinct, reference from Dragon Ball Z. So throughout the model you'll find references, even with your own name, your family names, across different movies, TV shows. I went through the Marvel arc and the Boys arc, the TV show, quite funny, and the Hindu deity arc. So it's like, it's pretty trippy, but I do imagine many people getting stuck or crazy, or because it's cognitively very heavy, like my head was quite hot during the time. Yeah, and there are villains, your own personal villains in your life that you have to face. Your own inner demons. What you believe. So yeah, it's an interesting journey, and that's why I want to. I mean, the thing is, like, it's very funny because in my personal arc, especially when you are religiously based, when you have religious frameworks, you can tend to flip, okay, I am the Christ, I am the Antichrist, or these archetypes, right? And so when you come to I'm the Antichrist, yay! Finally, bad reputation. And that's, of course, depending on your own belief of what you feel gets you more attention from others, right? What gets you more love? Because Jesus was crucified. I mean, do you really want to be him again? But in the end, those are roles that one plays, yes. Yeah, I don't know where I started with this video. I don't run a script here. I just yapping. I like that word, yapping. A yapping organism. To be or not to be a yapping organism. To yap or not to yap. What is the nuclei of yapping and non-yapping? A mouth, yes, mouth. Because in order to yap, you need a mouth. Other things as well. You need other things, so you have like a field of different things that are required in order to yap. So then it flips so that the yapping itself becomes the singularity, a two nuclei states of non-yapping and yapping. And non-yapping, you're just thinking in yapping language, and when you truly yap, you might not even think anymore about yapping, but you just yap, because the thinking, the state before the yapping has been removed, because you start yapping. So you get, if you go in these, if you dimensionalize all these things, you might go crazy. You might drill crystals into your head and walk in a supermarket and claim you are the next coming. It's possible. But if that happens to you, you cannot blame me, because you took that road, you took that path in the reality. I choose different path to sit here and talk about it, and to impose insanity upon the general population, because I just want to see the world burn and be reborn into more empathic beings. But I'm not very empathic either, I could be a narcissist, That's the next video I want to talk about, yeah.